Have I ever told you about the Tai Chi Hitler stuff?
No.
Let me see if I can find this.
Oh, please
Tai
enlighten
Chi
me.
Hitler stuff.
man.
Tell me about Tai Chi Hitler.
I'm not
stuff.
sure where this is going. It kind of makes me uncomfortable.
I'm not gonna play. Maybe I should play it. I mean,
Oh, is it an
it's
anime?
on YouTube.
Something?
No, let's pull this up. Hulk versus Hitler finger family nursery rhymes.
Yeah. Oh, it's this. Okay.
Oh, this thing you were talking about the other
gonna
day.
load.
Whoa,
Whoa,
that was
whoa,
loud.
We do not want to
very
play
loud.
that.
My ears
All
hurt.
right, let's see.
Sorry if that affected
All right,
anyone
there you
else.
go.
There
For
you
those
go.
that are watching, we got Adolf Hitler and what looks like some kind of Hulk monster.
It looks like a lizard Hulk.
And so what it is, 'cause I'm not going to play the audio. It's really creepy. Look at this. What is that?
Oh,
That is
there's a
not-
man?
That's like Sasquatch Hulk. Oh, wait, look. Here's a green bikini lady and Catwoman doing the same thing. And then a finger comes up with the green lady's face.
What are we watching?
We are
Mesmerized
watching-
here.
I feel like we just jumped into the SJW hole.
Right.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
It does.
But it feels like we're in a hole somewhere.
does. It
Oh,
does.
this is a nursery rhymes for children. This is what you were talking about the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Right.
so listen.
Yeah.
For those of you that are listening, I'm going to explain this to you.
Wow.
We're looking at this freaky Hulk versus Hitler 3D animation nursery rhyme video. And this is the easiest way I can explain to people social justice politics.
Yeah.
So let me explain to you why this video exists.
Please
Mothers-
try to explain it to me. 'Cause
Mothers
I don't get it.
were giving babies iPads.
Right.
They
Okay.
would put the iPad in front of the baby, and they would turn on Finger Family Nursery Rhyme.
Okay.
The original videos are just like Dora the Explorer dancing around, and it sings this nursery rhyme, which I'm not going to sing because people get mad at me because it gets stuck in their head, where it like basically names all the fingers.
Okay.
YouTube's autoplay algorithm doesn't differentiate between substance. It only interacts with like, are you watching for a long time?
Okay.
And are the keywords relevant, right? The algorithm at the time, this is several years ago, like just, it didn't work very well. And so what ends up happening is when a baby is laying in a crib and the iPad is just playing autoplay for hours, first it'll play a real nursery rhyme video. Then it'll play another real nursery rhyme video.
Okay.
But then the quality will start to degrade. This video was developed by people in India who used basically keyword scrapers
Right.
to figure out what was getting the most plays on YouTube.
And make stuff that would also get
And-
hits, basically.
Yeah. And so what happens is after a few runs, the autoplay algorithm on YouTube would play complete garbled nonsense.
Right.
Now here's what's funny. When you look at that as a sentient human adult who is like learned even a little bit,
Yeah.
you're like, this is insane.
Yes.
But what would happen if someone took an amalgamation of general politics and mashed it all together and then presented it for you? It would look real. To a baby, they can't tell the difference. They see this, the baby's like, oh, that's the only thing I know.
Here now. Yeah.
So here's what happens with social justice politics. Facebook started, early on in Facebook's days, a bunch of blogs started popping up like Huffington Post, BuzzFeed. And they found that by exploiting Facebook's algorithm, they could get a ton of shares on their articles and make a lot of money.
Okay.
But it was completely dependent upon Facebook, people on Facebook clicking share. Something truly fascinating ends up happening. A website like Huffington Post will write about a police brutality article.
Okay.
You know, like some police brutality thing happens. 100,000 shares. They get 10 million views and they're like, we just made 40 grand off of that one article that took you 10 minutes to write.
Yeah.
Write more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then something even stranger happens. BuzzFeed writes about sexism, and that also gets 10 million, right? So the algorithm says sexism, show this more because people share it. Racism, show this more because people share it. And then a light bulb appeared over Jonah Peretti's head.
Racist.
Boom.
Booyah.
What?
Making the money.
And that's how you get intersectional feminism.
The algorithm.
So now on Facebook, all of a sudden, they started jamming as many things as possible into their articles. And so intersectionality was the key, man. It was the obvious outcome of Facebook's algorithmic manipulation. An article about sexism gets you X views.
Yeah.
An article about racism gets you Y views. An article about sexism and racism gets you X plus Y views.
All I can think of is that
Boom.
that woman talking about Ivanka and how that
Yeah,
article
it
just
seemed like
had
a robot.
she hit
Exactly.
every different point she could
Yep.
even.
Exactly.
We were like, how did it even go there? But nope, she was just putting it all in there to hit all the
The
check
algorithm.
boxes.
And it might not even be on purpose. It might be a natural tendency. So here's what happens. I mentioned when I say Jonah Peretti and BuzzFeed, those are hypotheticals. I'm using them as examples because this is what they're accused of doing by, like, Jeff Jarvis is a professor, and he did some Twitter thread about how BuzzFeed's whole business model was basically using Facebook's algorithm.
Okay.
When Facebook changed this, they all panicked and lost a ton of money and laid a ton of people off. So, but now we end up seeing this tendency occurs, right? The first thing that happened was this. Krigler News pops up. Right?
Ooh.
A legitimate
Have you
news
heard of
source.
Krigler News?
Krigler News
That's
pops up on
legitimate.
Facebook.
Oh.
It's not a thing, but
Sorry.
It's not a
could
thing.
be.
It's hypothetical. So let's say the year's 2007, and someone creates the Kriglington Post.
Ooh.
An interesting twist.
Yes, the Kriglington Post is straight
Kriglington
news. Straight news.
I
Yo,
love it.
only the real news. That's
Only
what
the
we
real
do
news.
at Kriglington.
And so it was articles that were like, today in Syria, 17 fighters approached the U.S. border and surrendered. Really, really boring, dry stuff.
Okay.
At the same time, the Huffington Post pops up. They both publish articles. Kriglington News, the Kriglington Post, is straightforward, fair, and objective.
That's
The
right.
Huffington Post is shock, content, outrage, intersectionality. Guess which one gets more shares? Not Kriglington Post, I'm sorry.
No, I know. It was
Yeah,
sad.
the straightforward news, people just didn't want it.
We had to go under.
So now what happens is the real news goes out of business.
Yep.
Venture capitalists start seeing Huffington Post and all these companies, and so they're like, let's dump some money into this.
Yeah, let's
it's
invest
making money.
there. Yeah.
Boom. All of a sudden, these companies were worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They're getting crazy investment. I mean, Vox got like, 200 million. Vice got like 500 million. Just dump it all in. Light it up. Ugh. And this propped up these companies. Now they were funded. Something else funny happens. So you get a company like Vice. What do? They hire people like me. They hire a bunch of cool people who know how to do news and do real legit on-the-ground reporting. They also hire some rage bait SJW types. Guess which content gets more money?
Yep.
So guess who eventually falls off the budget? Look,
That
man.
would be you.
Well, not me. I quit.
Right, I know.
left. They probably would have kept me there forever.
Yeah.
If I was still there.
Yeah, and pushed you further and further away, though, because you didn't fall in line with what they were doing, though.
No, with Vice.
I don't see. I don't see you.
No.
staying there.
With Vice, I was doing everything they wanted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Vice was developing things around what I was doing. Like,
Okay.
yeah, it's complicated, but Shane's.
Of course it is.
Well, yeah, of course, it's not so simple, especially building Vice News. But Shane said at the Knight Foundation Awards, someone asked him, like, do you ever think Vice would be doing on the ground reporting? And he was like, no, it wasn't until Tim Pool came, and I think he's sitting right over there. And I was like, oh wow, I already quit at that point. And I was like, all right, I appreciate it, man. So they didn't want to do it. It was difficult. They were resisting. I was like, I want to do field reporting, and they're like, we don't do that. We do documentary stuff. And I'm like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And then Rocco, who's working on Scanner now, was actually a big advocate. Like, you got to look at what this dude's doing. He's crazy. So they started building stuff around it. But I could see where things were going because it was slowly turning into a corporate machine.
Okay.
And I knew where that would turn, what that would become. But there's another big aspect to this, right? So I ended up joining Fusion, and at first these companies weren't infected. The infection spreads to them, right? Vice was actually all right.
Yeah.
Vice was making money off being like the opposite of a lot of these social justice companies. For one reason or another, more like having to do with the sexual harassment accusations against higher ups at Vice, they started adopting this stuff. And I think it has to do a lot with the investors who were looking at all these other companies, and they were like, this is what we have to do to avoid these scandals. Mm-hmm. But the infection hit. The people who are more likely to write articles to get traffic were social justice rage bait writers.
Yep.
So they were more likely to keep their jobs because they got the views, they made the money, and the companies became social justice rage bait outlets, and that was the spread of the infection. And it's funny because a lot of people would say things like, Tim Pool doesn't get it. This was years like 2014 and stuff, 2015. And when they were talking about Gamergate and like video games being infected with social justice stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, the video game stuff, it's actually really, really obvious how that all started. Let's say you write for a video game outlet.
Okay.
What do you write about today? Video game come out or something? Destiny? What
Me
you doing?
personally?
Yeah.
I mean, I would be talking about the game, the mechanics of the games.
What game?
Probably right now, I'd probably talk about Revenant and
Revenant? Did
the
it
new
come
stuff
out?
that's coming out. No, it's been out for a little bit, but it's not really well known, and it's an incredibly fun game.
What do you write about tomorrow?
Probably a different game. I would just go through all the games I
What's
played
the
in
news
the past.
though? It's a news outlet. We're not just doing. You're not just doing reviews. It's the news. What's the news, man? Did something happen in gaming? The answer. It's
I
actually
could
simple.
probably talk about the deer person but that's a one-off. Then what? I would stick to the games. I would as much as I could.
The answer is you can't. It's impossible.
Yeah. What is news in games? It's like,
so a game's coming out.
You're making up
a game's
stuff.
Getting reviewed.
Yeah, that's what I would.
And so some of these journalistic gaming sites would do a big encyclopedia, basically like a game guide.
Okay.
So some of these gaming outlets, you'd go there and you'd see like a ton of articles about how to do certain things. But when your job is to write 5 articles a day, and it's about gaming, what do you write about, man? What do you do? Well, I wrote 4 articles. That's every game coming out this month.
Yeah.
Now I got to write 5 articles every day for the rest of the month? Social justice fake controversy. They make it up. Like that woman we mentioned about the Ivanka Trump article.
Right.
For those that aren't familiar, it was this article that said, okay, Ivanka Trump responded to Elon Musk.
Oh, right.
Elon Musk said, take the red pill. Ivanka said, taken. And she writes 400 words about incels and misogyny and what this really means about Ivanka. And I'm like, bro, she said a 5-letter word. Calm down.
One word.
But she stuffed everything in there.
Everything.
Yep. And so she might not even do that on purpose. That could just be that, like,
I ran out of steam and I need to write another one. No?
She's the natural crazy person who writes crazy nonsense whose articles work. She might not be consciously being like, how do I craft a lie? And so what happens, a lot of these companies, people think that journalists are like told to do this, and they do. Nah, man. They're the ones who survived. The industry is collapsing. The Atlantic just laid off 20% of its staff.
Yeah.
Who do you think stayed? Do you think let me tell you something, man. Go to an investor.
That's a good point.
Go to an investor, all right, and tell him this. I want to start a news company, and we're going to do a really big news investigation. Okay. Investor's going to ask you, how much that cost? First year, full investigation, we're going to need at least 2 other people on staff. We're going to need a travel budget. We're going to need equipment. Oh, man, to get off the ground. For a good investigative reporter, we're talking like $100K. Like, I'm talking like a good one, like an award-winning, like this is going to be big, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's roll that down. It's going to be a new company. We got some young upstarts. We're going to pay them $50 because they live in New York and this is their demand because other companies pay comparably. So we've got 2 people at $50. We're going to buy a bunch of cameras. We're going to put probably, 30 or 40 in production. So I'm going to need like 100, 200 just in staffing. Then I'm going to need like 50 in office space. And then I'm going to need probably like 100 in travel and everything else. So let's just call it 300K. Investor's going to say, all right, sounds good. What's our projection after 1, 3, or 5 years? And you're going to say nothing, nothing, and nothing. Okay, well, hold on, man. You're asking me for $300,000. What do you mean, nothing?
Right.
Nothing. We might not even get the story, bro. We might spend a year investigating and nothing comes out of it. And that budget we're asking for, it's for 1 year. You want to talk a 3-year budget? We'll need $1 million. Not to mention inflation costs, salaries, and everything. So you mean to tell me, I'm the investor, you mean to tell me that you want $1 million for a 3-year operation with no guarantees of anything produced? Get out of here. I'm not paying for that.
Yeah.
That's nuts. And then another guy walks up and says, buddy, I'll tell you what. You give me $5,000 right now. I'll hire a freelancer for $100 to write me some nonsense about some racist video gamer. I'll make a $2,000 return like that overnight. We're just going to game the algorithm. $5,000, that's it. Yup, $5,000, that's it. What do I get out of that? I think I can turn into 50. How long? A couple weeks. Deal. There you go. Now people are being inundated with this across the board. You look at CNN, they're struggling. They're burning to the ground. So what do? Let's play the game, baby.
Yeah.
Let's play the game.
You think that infection that you're talking about, the SJW, like clickbaity stuff, that's kind of the reason why all these Karens are going nuts because look at what's being spread around on the internet. This must be the way life is.
They're turning into it.
The toxic masculinity. Well, look, these are the articles that are being shared. This must be the way things are.
Kind of, yes.
The infection's growing into people's minds
it's
now.
It's not making them Karens. It's activating the Karen gene.
There it is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the X gene. Mm-hmm. So what happens is if they see nothing but content where it tells them people not wearing masks, bad. What do? You ever see Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
No, we've referenced it. And
so there's
people have yelled at me to watch it because it's supposed to be great.
Let me pull up this tweet that I posted. I got to do some navigating. But Cassandra Fairbanks, who is
She's funny.
She posted this clip from these Karens who are screeching at somebody for not wearing a mask.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
and so I posted a video, and I want to play the sound. Oh no, I probably can't play the sound. I think we might be able to. Anyway, I'll just show you the image.
Oh, this is from the movie?
Yeah, so here, watch. This is Donald Sutherland. She walks up, and then he goes like this.
And he's just screaming so loud. It's like ear splitting.
But yeah, we'll get
Obviously.
flagged if I play it.
Yeah.
He's like, ooh.
That's
Because
beautiful.
he's been body snatched?
He's been body snatched. He's like, "Rrr." That's the joke I make, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happens.
The Karen gene.
People want to fit in, right?
Yeah.
And so they don't want to be ostracized. If the only thing they see every day, they're being inundated by the same narrative, a narrative that makes no sense, then they just say like, whatever that is, right?
Yeah. Well, it makes sense to them.
No, it doesn't make sense. And they know it. That's why they don't do
they?
interviews.
I don't know.
Absolutely. That's why they don't do interviews, man. They don't want to, because they know they have no ideology. All they have is the tribe, the collective.
Yeah.
And if they defy it, they'll get canceled. And the rules change every day. So if you do an interview and you say something about them, tomorrow the rule might be different. So anyway, here's the point I was going to make about the video of the Hitler dancing.
Right.
You can see all of the weird keywords mashed together that makes no sense. But in order to exploit an adult, you need to take things that make sense and then present it in a way where they're like, I know what these things are. And then you need to figure out how you can connect them. That's why the rules change so often, because it doesn't make sense at all. Like what is or isn't offensive makes literally no sense. But mash all of these different political causes into one, and you end up with like the Muslim LGBT alliance, where you have in the UK Muslims showing up to protest the LGBT curriculum in, what was it, in Birmingham?
I think so.
Or whatever.
Yeah, like elementary school.
An elementary school was doing LGBT curriculum. Muslims protested it, and they were fighting with each other. Yet intersection, like actually a better example than this too is r/atheism on Reddit. It is a subreddit, a forum with millions of people dedicated to ragging on religion.
Okay.
But for the most part, just Christians. I mean, you can't rag on
Not
Muslims.
all
They're an oppressed
religion.
minority. You know what I mean?
I see.
And so there was like recently a really funny post where it was someone criticizing Islam, and all of the comments were walking on eggshells. There was, look, if you want to talk about Christianity, they're like, these backwater yokel morons, so stupid, Trump chuds, and they just go nuts ragging on Christians. Islam, they were like, I think it's fair to say we can criticize and talk critically. Unfortunately, too much of these people have hidden motives, and it's like, are you kidding me, dude?
Yeah.
Like, you want to rag on religion, bro.
Where'd all that internet sass go?
It's about what's safe. And it's interesting because we did an event. There's a group called Mythicist Milwaukee.
Okay.
We did an event. They did an event in Milwaukee. I showed up at the last minute, and there's like an interesting break in the atheist community. And I think there's this really weird thing that happened in the early 2010s.
Okay.
Where the left and the right like spun in a weird way and then split in half. So it's like
a polar shift.
not really.
Yeah.
Like maybe like a polar shift, but you now have like there are people I know who made lefty anti-war videos that are now suit wearing MAGA hat dudes. And I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
How did that happen? Like that's a change for sure.
Walk away.
Yeah, seriously.
For sure. But there are people who are a lot like us, who for the most part are the exact same, talk about the exact same things, but everything else shifted around us.
Yeah, definitely.
So like the best example is these people at Vice being like, man, you changed, dude. Like what happened? And I'm like, bro, remember when you wrote that edgy article? Yeah. I'm like, I didn't even write that. There's one dude who became an overt SJW. And then people looked at his history writing for Vice and they were like, bro, you are the most racist, sexist we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, well, I mean, I disavow my past. And they were like, don't care, you're canceled. And like, just light him up online. Like, just go at him like crazy. But these are the people that just, they're the grifters and they accuse everyone else of being a grifter. It's sad, dude. When like, I have good friends that I've known for years and like we'd hang out, we'd have a good time, to hear what they're saying now. And I'm like, directly breaking the law. Their companies are advocating for things that are outright illegal.
How do you, just like hiring those people?
Yeah, and I'm like, how do you go from being like, we need the Civil Rights Act to prevent discrimination in the hiring process, to 2 years later being like, I'm gonna discriminate against the people I'm hiring. It's like,
so
did your brain
it's
snap?
illegal to say I want to hire this specific type of person?
For the most part, yes.
Okay.
Like if there was a job posting that said, we're looking for a janitor, but men only,
Okay.
super illegal.
If
It said Christians only, illegal. If it said Americans only, illegal.
You
Like
can't
even
discriminate based
I
on-
think national origin is
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So now what's happening is you've got people putting up posts being like, we're only hiring women, we're only doing this. There are exceptions for modeling, entertainment, performance,
all right.
for obvious reasons. And there are some exceptions that can be argued in court. Like that's what the point of judges are for, right? Like copyright infringement and fair use. Literally everything is copyright infringement that's under fair use, but it's an exemption. So you can be sued and then you'll win on a fair use grounds.
Okay.
So like when I show a news article and I'm talking about it and reading it and commenting,
Yeah.
technically that's infringement,
Right.
except it's fair use. So,
Because it's public. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to these like employment violations, for like you think about who was posting these jobs like so and so need not apply in the 60s.
Long hair, freaky people.
Need not apply, right?
Irish, yeah.
Long-haired freaky people.
It's a good
I
song.
think you're allowed to discriminate against long-haired freaky people. Though.
You will for sure.
No, I'll never work again.
Long-haired freaky people. Today, it's like, what am I supposed to say to somebody who's become like a hardcore racist and they're in the dogma? And it's like, the craziest thing is it's all tied together with politics.
Yeah.
So the lockdown is part of it too. These same people.
What makes it even worse, though, it becomes part of their like emotions, So even having a logical conversation with someone like that, like you asked, like how do you talk to someone like that? You almost can't.
You can't.
Because as soon as you go against what they believe, they get triggered, and you can't have a logical, peaceful conversation because their emotions just shoot through the roof, and then that starts driving,
It's their worldview.
everything they're talking about. Yeah, you're going against their worldview, and that's you don't do that.
Yeah.
As soon as you do that, boom, emotions
Religion.
take over. Same thing.
It's
even
crazy how
even
like
food. Talking about people when like people get triggered whenever the word vegan comes around. It's like, oh my gosh, triggered. And it's like, whoa. I don't care about what you eat. Don't even say it. It's like the other day he said, oh man, vegans talking about food, and it's like it wasn't even me.
Yeah, it
in
was
the
me
room.
talking about it.
You were talking about it, and it's like that.
Just getting you dragged.
There's a trigger that happens against the worldview. It's like, that happens pretty much to everyone on different levels, but especially in this
tribalism,
situation.
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like when people bring up the vegan stuff, it's usually not as heated as the political stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
But people always get heated about.
Well, when you get crazy vegans, which there's certainly
man.
crazy vegans out there, they'll attack even me for having like a pet.
Right.
Having pets
Yep.
to some vegans is like, whoa, you're using them as love slaves, and it's like,
Yes.
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, PETA will come.
that's what humans have done for a long time. Like, okay, anyway,
Yeah,
it's
man.
pretty funny.
It's impossible to have a conversation with somebody who's adopted a dogmatic worldview.
Yep.
And what blows my mind is that right now the religious right are the ones begging for the conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think like Ben Shapiro is a great example. Like how often he's had calm conversations about what he thinks and what he believes, even if he's wrong, even if people call him out, even if they make videos on YouTube where they're like, here's Ben Shapiro being wrong. He doesn't scream at people and freak out. He gets heated. He has his debates.
Yeah, but that's what we need.
But how did we come to a point where this like inversion happened, where Jon Stewart was making fun of everybody and it was funny, and you had George Carlin, and it was like, oh man, these authoritarian, it's like the libertarian shift happened.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like the pendulum of libertarianism.
Oh,
And it was on
yeah.
the left for a while, now it's on the right for a while.
That kind of makes sense.
And it's like authoritarianism goes up and then it goes down, it goes back and forth or whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's the right. And so if you're mostly just a libertarian type, you are now more likely to have a good conversation with Trump supporters, conservatives, and if it's not with the left.
Yeah, you can't further yourself if you're just only going to believe what you believe. You have to hear the other side of it to, oh, how do you know it's dark at night? Well, because it's bright during the day and then it gets dark at night.
I looked out my window.
Yeah.
Let me stop you right there, buddy.
That's the
I
most
don't
base-
need to look out the window to know when night and day is. Okay,
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Here's another example of like the just the dementia that's affecting this group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody commented in reply to like Trump, these Trump reply guys, and they said something like, there's only ever been one instance of known voter fraud from mail-in voting, and it was a Republican. And so I quoted that in saying, whoa, a Republican tried cheating with mail-in voting. That's a good reason for Democrats to oppose it. I didn't say I was for or against mail-in voting. I was poking fun at the argument that you're accusing Republicans of cheating and being in favor of mail-in voting. Like, how does that make sense, right?
Right.
And so then someone responded with, are you seriously opposed to mail-in voting? You MAGA Trumpsters need to blah, 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 blah. And it's like some high-profile guy who said this. Someone responded with, Tim lays out his position in the evidence here, and links to one of my videos. His immediate response was, let me stop you right there, buddy. I don't need to watch a video to understand that these people are stupid, blah, 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 blah. Like, my position was, for the most part, we do have evidence of voter fraud. We shouldn't be changing the rules of an election 6 months before an election. That seems nonsensical. You can say the same for about literally any. I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat. If you want to change the rules, you want mail-in voting, you got to do it beforehand. Pandemics happen. You can't argue, but we're in an emergency now. Yeah, okay, well then where's your emergency provision for how elections are dealt with during an emergency? You can't just sign an executive decree and mail out ballots and be like, we've changed the whole thing. So this is a person who says, I don't need to see the evidence. I'm just going to whinge.
That's what's happening nowadays.
I like it.
Yeah, that's the thing to do.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.